Hello, friends. Welcome to lecture number 8 of Criminal Law Basic Concepts. This is CLAT lecture series sponsored by Sri Chandra Rank Zone. I'm your mentor, Shekhar Gelot. With this chapter now, we have proceeded on to offenses against the human body. Okay, so first offense which comes to the mind when we talk about human body, offense against human body is a killing of a human being. This is the first offense which comes to mind when we talk about culpable homicide. Sorry, when we talk about offenses against human. Okay, offenses against human body. First offense is killing of a human being. Now, human being has a scientific name, Homo sapiens. Let's just take Hom. Okay, and cide in the Latin means kill. That is why we have suicide, which means killing yourself. Okay, killing yourself. Su means yourself, side means killing, and side means kill. So homicide means killing another human being. Okay, killing another human being. Word culpable stands for punishable. Okay, so culpable homicide means punishable act of punishable act of killing another human being is equal to culpable homicide. Now you must be wondering that killing a human being is always punishable. What is culpable homicide then? Okay, because killing a human being is not always punishable. We have discussed so many cases where you can kill a human being in a private defense, where police can kill a human being for the good of the society. Okay, when they are chasing someone in an encounter, where a person may die in an accident. Okay, just like the cricketer example. So a person may die in so many number of ways at the hands of some other person. Okay, and that may not be always a culpable homicide. Court sentences someone to death. Definitely someone else is there executing it. Judge doesn't himself go to kill someone, okay, to execute someone when he orders death sentence. Definitely there are agents, okay, there are state officials who go and pull the strings down on a person. Okay, so every act of killing a human being is not a punishable act of. Okay, so only those acts which are punishable. Okay, when you kill a human being and your killing is punishable in nature, then you are said to be guilty of culpable homicide. Simply killing a person is culpable homicide. Unlawfully killing a person is culpable homicide. Now, what is murder? Murder is also killing a human being, isn't it? We have heard about murder is that a person is murdered, that means someone has killed him. Now we have a different term. We have two terms. We have two offenses in the law against a human being body, which refers to the killing of a human being. Culpable homicide is separate. Okay, murder is separate. Now the punishment. is minimum 10 years of jail term. Maximum is to life imprisonment. While punishment for murder is minimum life imprisonment and maximum death penalty. Now, in both the cases, one person is killing another person, isn't it? So, what is the difference? Why so much of the day night difference between the punishment? Here, the minimum punishment starts at 10 years. Suppose someone is given a minimum punishment for killing another human being. At the age of 30, he kills a human being, he is sentenced to jail for 10 years. At the age of 40, he'll be out, okay, as a free person. The rest of life, whatever is left with him, he can live as a free man. But when you commit murder, you are 20 and you commit murder. Minimum punishment is life imprisonment. That means the person will never come out of the jail. He'll rot behind the bars and probably also die behind the bars. He has no hopes of coming out because the minimum punishment for murder is life imprisonment, while the minimum punishment for the culpable homicide is 10 years. The maximum punishment for culpable homicide is life imprisonment, which is a minimum for the murder. Okay, what is maximum for culpable homicide is minimum for murder. Okay, and what is maximum in murder is death penalty. That means you are also going to be killed. Okay, executed by the state. But here, at least, even if you spend whole of your life in the jail, at least you will stay alive. You will stay alive, you will be able to live your life, you will be able to make friends or in the jail or meet your family occasionally. Something like this. Okay, but still better than dying. So both the things are talking about killing a human being. Now what is the difference between both? Okay, why we have two sections for similar act? What is the act here? Act is killing of one human being at the hands of another human being, which is unlawful, which is culpable. Okay, but why is there a difference between the in sentencing and why we have two separate sections? Let us read. Culpable homicide, section 299. Culpable homicide is dealt with section 299, defined in section 299. What is culpable homicide? And the punishment is given in section 304. Okay. While murder is defined in section 300 and the punishment is given in section 302. That is why you most oftenly hear in the movies that someone is sent behind the bars under section, someone is found guilty under section 302 and sentenced to the death. Okay, that is what we say. In movies, two sentences are very famous, 302 and 420. Okay, and now we must understand the difference between them as well. Okay, now what is the distinction between them? Because this may be often asked in the examination. What is the difference? You may be given a paragraph or you may be given a situation and then you may be given an option whether this is a culpable homicide or whether this is a murder. So, in order to understand the distinction between them, it is imperative, it is very important that we must understand deeply what is difference between a culpable homicide and what is the difference between murder because it is a very thin line difference between both, and this thin line could make a very huge difference in terms of sentencing. Okay, let us read. The difference was explained by Supreme Court in the case of Virsa Singh versus State of Punjab. Now, what happened in Virsa Singh? There was only one injury on Khem Singh. Khem Singh is someone who was died. Okay, and both the courts means Session Court and the High Court. Okay, as the case has reached to the Supreme Court, that means the case has already seen two stages of decision. One is Session Court, then that is the High Court, and at both courts it is decided that it was Virsa Singh who inflicted injury on Khem Singh, and there is only single injury on Khem Singh. Okay, it was caused as a result of a spear thrust. Okay, a spear, which is usually we see in the villages, it is just like a trident, a Shivji's trident. Shiva, Lord Shiva is having a trident. Okay, so this is a kind of spear usually locals or village people use in agricultural purposes. Okay, for agricultural purposes they use it. Okay, and as a protective tool as well. So it was caused as a result of spear thrust. A spear was thrust probably in the chest or in the abdominal portion of this person Khem Singh, and ultimately he died. To put it shortly, the prosecution must prove the following facts before it can bring a case under section 300. 300 is murder. Okay, 300 is murder. So now Supreme Court says to prove that someone has committed murder and not culpable homicide, it has to be proved. What has to be proved? Let us see. First, it must establish who prosecution means police. Police must establish quite objectively. Objectively means not leaving any scope of doubt. Okay, when you are proving something subjectively, that means 2-3 views are possible. In law, we do not go with something which has 2 or 3 possibilities. We only go with something which has only and exclusively one possibility. So, first, it must establish quite objectively that a bodily injury is present. Okay. Now, in this case, a body injury is present, a spear thrust is present. Secondly, the nature of injury must be proved. These are purely objective questions. Nature of injury means what kind of injury is this? What kind of injury is this? Will this kind of injury, if inflicted to someone in ordinary cause, lead to the death? Okay, in ordinary cause, will this injury lead to the death? In ordinary cause means if a healthy person is inflicted with that injury, will he ultimately die? It is not the case that you give some injury to a fragile man or to an old man and he dies. Okay, he may die due to his physical weakness or his inability or his old age or something else. Okay, he did not die simply because of injury. Okay, we are talking about an injury which, if inflicted upon a healthy man, ordinarily will it lead to the death of the person or not. Okay, so first we have to see that whether body injury is present, and second we have to see whether such injury is of such nature that it will lead to death of a person. These are purely objective investigations, means objective questions. Thirdly, then court says it must be proved that there was an intention to inflict that particular bodily injury. Now law says that you also should prove, along with, first of all you have to prove that there was an injury. The injury was caused intentionally. That it must be proved that there was an intention to inflict that particular bodily injury. That is to say, that it was not accidental or unintentional. That such injury was not accidental, okay, or unintentional. Out of accident it happened, or it was not unintentional. I was trying to do something else, but it something else happened. Okay, just like in the movies they show that someone tries to shoot someone on the feet, but the moment he shoots, the other person sits down, and just because he has sat down, okay, the bullet hits in the head and he dies. This is a case of unintentional injury, unintentional death. I wanted to shoot someone in the foot, but because he tried to dodge my bullet by sitting and he sat down and the bullet hit him in the chest or in the face and he died. So that is a unintentional one, or sometimes it may be accidental, like we have discussed other cases as well, or that some kind of injury was intended. Okay, or that some kind of injury was intended, but not an injury which causes murder, which causes death. Okay, it should be proved that the injury was caused intentionally and only with intention to cause such injury which will cause death. Okay, there may be an injury, accidental it may be unintentional. Okay, I wanted to hit someone, suppose say in the back. Okay, I wanted to put a dagger, I wanted to give someone a, I wanted to put a knife into someone's back, but suddenly he turned, okay, he turned and my knife entered his chest and he died. Probably if my knife would have entered in his shoulder where I wanted to plant it, he would not have died, but he would have definitely suffered an injury. But because suddenly he turned reverse, and due to that motion, the dagger or the knife which I wanted to put into him, it pierced his chest and he dies. So that is a case of unintentional injury. Or that some other kind of injury was intended. Some other kind of injury was intended, but not an injury which would have killed him. Okay, I wanted to give an injury that only would make him bedridden, but not which would kill him. Okay, so these are the three things which court says you have to first see, that there was an injury. First of all, an injury was inflicted upon someone. An injury is such which is in ordinary course of nature will result into death of the person upon whom such injury is inflicted. Then we have to see that the injury was caused intentionally. Okay, that it was the intention that this injury only should be caused which will result to the death. Okay, it should not be any other kind of injury which is accidental, unintentional, or because we wanted to inflict some other injury. Once these three elements are proved, okay, when you have proved all these things, that yes, Virsa Singh gave this injury, and the injury Virsa Singh gave is sufficient to cause death in the ordinary course of nature, sorry. And Virsa Singh intentionally caused this injury only. Now, after these three, fourth, you have to prove, fourth element you have to prove is it must be proved that the injury of the type just described, made up of the three elements set out above, is sufficient to cause death in the ordinary course of nature. Okay, then you have to show that you have to prove that injury was sufficient to cause the death. Okay, second type of ingredient is the nature of injury. What is the nature of injury? It is usually described as like 7 centimeter deep wound, okay, or 5 into 7 centimeter deep cut in abdomen, neck, sharp weapon, bullet wound, or blunt wound, which is caused when you are using a like a rock, hitting someone with a rock. You are hitting someone with a rock, then it would be a blunt wound. Okay, so what kind of wound is there? That is second kind. Then the injury was caused intentionally. Then fourth one is injury was sufficient to cause death in ordinary course of nature. Okay. It does not matter that there was no intention to cause death or even to cause an injury sufficient to cause death. It does not matter that there was when these four things are there. Okay, when these four things are there, it is sufficient that someone is guilty of murder and not culpable homicide. Okay, it hardly makes a difference whether he actually wanted to kill or not. Let us go further. It does not even matter that there was a knowledge that an act of that kind will likely to cause death. The question, so far as the intention is concerned, intention is purely subjective, is not whether he intended to kill or to inflict an injury of particular degree of seriousness, but whether he intended to inflict the injury in question. Okay, we are now the difference between the two sections, murder and culpable homicide, lays solely upon the kind of injury. Okay, and whether that injury was caused intentionally or not. Okay, whether he intended to kill or not is a different issue. Okay, but whether he intended to inflict the injury in question, and once the existence of the injury is proved, the intention to cause it will be presumed unless the evidence or circumstances warrant an opposite conclusion. Law says when these four elements are proved, when these four elements are proved, court will presume that it was an intentional murder. It was an intentional murder. Okay, unless he can prove otherwise, which is very difficult in the law. Okay, so this is the test which determines whether it's a culpable homicide or whether it is a murder. Let's take another case. Gudar Dushat versus State of Bihar. The appellant was convicted under Section 302 and 147 of Indian Penal Code and was sentenced to undergo imprisonment for life on the former count. Former count means earlier count, that is Section 302. He was sentenced to undergo imprisonment for life because that is the minimum punishment for murder. Okay. The appellant gave a lathi blow on the head of Ramlal. Lathi is a bamboo stick, you may say. Hard bamboo stick. The appellant gave lathi blow on the head of Ramlal, as a result of which the latter fell down and died on the spot. Ramlal fell down and died on the spot. The only question with which we were concerned in the appeal is whether the offence committed by the appellant is murder or whether it is culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Now the only question before the court is whether appellant has committed a murder or he has committed a culpable homicide. Okay, which is not murder, not amounting to murder, because culpable homicide is separate, murder is separate. Whether he has committed a murder or whether he has committed a culpable homicide. The appellant who caused the above injury to Ramlal is deceased, in our opinion, was guilty of the offence of murder and he has been rightly convicted under Section 302 of IPC. As the injury on head was deliberate and not accidental, and as the injury was sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death, the case against the appellant would fall squarely within the ambit of thirdly of Section 300 Indian Penal Code. Thirdly is there are some 5 to 6 explanations of Section 300 which are detailed one. Okay. According to that clause, culpable homicide is murder. According to that clause, culpable homicide means killing a human being will become murder. Okay, will be considered as murder if it is done with the intention of causing bodily injury to any person and the bodily injury intended to be inflicted is sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death. Clause thirdly consists of two parts. Under the first part, it has to be shown that there was an intention on the part of the accused to inflict the particular injury, which was found on the body of the deceased. The second part requires that bodily injury intended to be inflicted was sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death. So far as the first part is concerned, the court has to see whether the injury which was found on the deceased, okay, was one intended by the accused or whether it was accidental without his having intended to cause that bodily injury. Now, first of all, court has to see that an injury has been found on the body. Okay, first of all, we have to see whether this is the same injury which he wanted to inflict, or he wanted to inflict some other injury, but some other injury has ultimately happened. Some other injury has ultimately happened. Once it is found that the injury was not accidental and the accused intended to cause the injury which was actually inflicted and found on the body of deceased, the first part shall be satisfied. Okay, the first part is over. The court would then go into the second part of the clause and find in light of medical evidence as to whether the bodily injury inflicted was sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death. Now it comes the role of medical evidence. Medical evidence will tell whether the injury which has been inflicted was sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death. Like ordinarily, will such kind of injury result in death of a normal human being? If the court finds that the requirement of both the parts have been satisfied, the case shall be held to be covered by thirdly unless it falls within one of the exceptions. Okay, unless it falls within one of the exceptions. There are certain exceptions as well. Now, another case, Emperor versus Mount Dhirajia. Okay, Mount Dhirajia. Now, in this case, what happened? Let us see. Wife runs from her matrimonial house with a baby. Now, wife has a baby and she runs away from her matrimonial house. Husband follows. Husband is chasing her. Okay, wife jumps into well. Wife is afraid of the husband. And she's afraid that definitely because she is a woman and her dress is different than a man, which allows her less flexibility to run faster, plus physical differences between man and woman. Okay, plus she is carrying a child, so she cannot run as fast as husband, definitely. Okay, so when husband is following her, she is afraid that husband may catch him. What she does, she jumps into the well. Wife jumps into the well. Baby dies, wife survives. Okay, when she jumped into the well, baby died, but somehow wife survived. As the other people gathered and they took out the wife. Okay, but somehow baby could not be saved, he died. Charged with murder. Now, wife is charged with murder. That wife has committed murder. Murder of whom? Murder of the child. Now, let us see what court says. It was held that for murder, culpable homicide needs to be proved. Okay, for murder, first of all, you have to prove that it was a culpable homicide. Culpable homicide means intentionally or unlawfully one human being has killed another human being, like we discussed. So, court says first of all, you have to prove that she intentionally killed the child. Okay, then we will discuss whether it is a murder or simply culpable homicide. Here, the intention was lacking. Okay, she lacked in the intention. There was no intention. She was running with the baby out of her matrimonial house and her husband is following. She jumped into the well as she is afraid. Okay, she did not want to kill the child. She did not jump in the well at first place in order to kill the child? First of all, we must understand here. Okay, she is now running away from the husband, and meanwhile, she jumps into the well. Here, the intention was lacking, and in that state of hurry, complete knowledge cannot be there. When you are in such a state, she is now in a state of hurry, as well as she is terrified, she is afraid that if husband sees her, and see, this case goes back to 1940. Okay, 1940. In 1940, it reaches to the Allahabad High Court. Probably this may have happened somewhere in 1930. This case would have spent some 6 to 8 years in session court only. So in 1930, husband and wife relation was much different from what it is today. Okay, husband used to be considered as the master of the wife, and wife used to be considered as a slave or a property of the husband. And husband used to be like, it was a normal for husband to be a wife basher. Okay, so many husbands used to be wife bashers. So in such situation, she is now afraid. She is physically weak, she is now afraid. Okay, and now she jumps into the well. She is jumping into the well, maybe out of the despair. Maybe she wants to commit suicide. Okay, or maybe she wants to hide. Or maybe she thought that the well may be having less water. Okay, the water level in the well may be less. Okay, and I'll hide with my baby, and then husband will pass away. She may have thought so many things, but definitely it is difficult to presume that she wanted to kill the baby, because this is not the situation here. Okay, so in that state of hurry, complete knowledge cannot be there. When you cannot have a complete knowledge, again we come back to the basics of crime. Mens rea plus actus rea. Guilty mind plus guilty act. Mens rea is guilty mind. So when you cannot have in such situation complete knowledge of facts, that what would happen in the well. When you do not have a complete knowledge, that means mens rea is lacking. You do not have mens rea. Enough mens rea required. But must be some knowledge. Okay. But definitely some knowledge was there, but complete knowledge was not there. But some knowledge definitely she had, but not complete knowledge. Hence, she was found guilty in section 299C, and punishment for culpable homicide not amounted to murder under section 304. Okay, so she was found guilty in section 399 and 304 only, not in murder. Gyasi Bai versus State. Okay, 1953. Wife and sister-in-law regularly fought. Okay, wife and sister-in-law, they regularly fought with each other. It is a usual affair. It happens even today. Husband said wife to leave. Husband asked the wife to leave, that you should leave with 3 children. Wife has 3 children. You live with all your children. Something like this husband said. Wife was found in well and 3 dead children. Okay. Later on, what was found, that wife had thrown all the 3 children in the well. Okay. She had thrown all 3 children in the well, and she too had jumped in the well. But somehow, again in this case as well, wife was saved. Wife was saved by the villagers, but all 3 children are dead. It was held that section 300 that deals with the murder, 300 subclause 4, will be applicable as wife here had other means to escape, unlike Dhirija's case. Now she tried to argue her case of Dhirajya. She tried to argue her case in the case of Dhirajya. Okay, that in Dhirajya's case as well, similarly, thing had happened, and wife was held guilty only for culpable homicide and not for the murder. So I should also be treated like that case only. It was held that she had other means to escape, unlike the Rajia's case, her case is different than Dhirajia's case because Dhirajia husband was constantly chasing her. Husband was just following her and she had a threat. She had an imminent threat. Okay, but here she has three children. So definitely she must have thrown children one by one in the well. And then she would have jumped, probably with one children in her arm, she jumped herself. But first two children, definitely she threw them one by one. In such situation, we cannot expect her to be not guilty of murder. So she was held guilty of murder and she was punished under section 302 of the IPC. So this is basically difference between murder and culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Okay, this is the key test to determine whether it is a murder or whether it's a culpable homicide. That there was an injury first of all. Okay, nature of the injury. What is the nature of injury? We discussed nature of injury could be described like this. Okay, the injury was caused intentionally. Whether the injury was caused intentionally, yes or no, we'll have to see. Injury was sufficient to cause death in ordinary course of nature. Okay, if the injury is sufficient to cause death in the ordinary course of nature, then it is a culpable homicide. Okay, sorry, it's a murder. Otherwise, it is not a murder. Okay. Now, Navjot Singh Sidhu case is an example which could be understood here. Okay, in this case, what Navjot Singh Sidhu did. Navjot Singh Sidhu, who is a famous comedian nowadays, he is a minister in the Punjab government presently, sorry, and he used to be an Indian team cricket player. Okay, a famous cricket player he used to be. So he entered into a fight with someone in Punjab, okay, when he was young, somewhere in 1990s. Okay, he gave three punches, three blows to the man. Now the state argued the case. State said that Sidhu should be held guilty for committing murder or at least culpable homicide. Okay, because murder has higher punishment, culpable homicide has lesser punishment. So if you do not find Sidhu guilty for committing murder, at least he has killed a man. Okay, at least he is responsible for killing a man, so he should be treated with culpable homicide not amounting to murder at least. Now, what Supreme Court stated in this case? Supreme Court said that Navjot Singh Sidhu cannot be said to be guilty of committing culpable homicide. because this injury which he has committed is not sufficient to cause death in the ordinary course of nature. Okay, three punches to someone. Okay, fist blows they are. Okay, fist blows. Someone, you punch someone thrice, probably twice, one or two time it will land on the head, and one time it will land on the nose or eye, etc. Something like this. Okay, so you give someone three punches. You definitely do not expect those three punches. Even medically, it is impossible to believe that by three punches alone, some man will die. Okay, but a man has died here. But definitely, we understand a man has died, but we cannot hold another person guilty of killing him, okay, just because he gave three punches. So, just because someone gave three punches, okay, and someone has died, we will not hold that person guilty of killing someone. Okay, that person may be held guilty for the offense of beating someone. We have a separate section which says committing hurt. Okay, committing hurt to someone, beating someone. He may be guilty of beating someone, but we cannot definitely observe him to be guilty of killing someone. So this is how it is decided whether killing is culpable or not, or whether culpable homicide is murder or not. Okay, let's do another example. Now X has a knife. He goes to B. Okay, he has some enemy to the B. He penetrates that knife into the left thigh of B. Okay, the knife is put into the left thigh of the B. B is taken to hospital and B dies. Now, what will happen in this case? Has this person committed murder or has this person committed a culpable homicide? Okay, it will rest squarely upon medical evidence. If medical evidence suggests that putting knife in thigh will kill someone, then definitely it's a murder. But usually it is not the case. Okay, usually it is not the case because thigh happen to be a organ or part of the body, but thigh is not a vital part of the body. Okay, vital part of the body is like your heart, your neck, okay, your genitals, or your abdominal area, okay, or your forehead, upper head. These are your mouth. These are the vital parts of the body. If some injury is inflicted, if some sufficient forceful injury with a knife is inflicted on these parts, definitely that injury is sufficient to kill. But thigh is not that vital a part. Injury on the thigh will, in most cases, and will ultimately may not even kill a person. He may suffer damage, but is not likely to kill a person. So, in such case, if the person has died, suppose the person dies out of shock. Okay, he gets a knife, he is feeling pain, out of shock, his body goes into trauma, he dies. Okay, or he dies due to loss of blood. He dies due to loss of blood. Okay, that is a medical reason. But was this injury? Was this injury sufficient to kill someone in the ordinary course of business? Answer is no. Such injury will not kill in the ordinary course of business. Sorry, nature. So in this case, definitely this man is not guilty of culpable homicide or murder, as he is not having an intention to kill at all. His intention is only to give him an injury, maybe a serious injury. He can be held guilty for giving a serious injury, but not for causing death. Okay.
It's 11 o'clock.
So we are done with the murder and culpable homicide. But now, like we have discussed, it all depends upon type of circumstance to circumstance. We cannot say that in each case it will be very easy to understand the difference. Okay, understanding the difference between culpable homicide and murder is always a very technical thing, and these are the guiding principles which we can observe in order to understand the difference in a rational and objective manner.